අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT මොබිටෙල් දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First and 9, this Sunday the 14th of May 2023. Innovate. President Ranil Wickremesinghe calls on the Colombo University to make innovations regarding the education system prevalent within the university. Commitments. Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva says that Sri Lanka is committed to strengthen partnerships with the Indian Ocean Rim countries.
Sri Lanka is committed to further strengthening these partnerships and engaging with regional communities to promote peace, prosperity and development in the region.
Continued inclement weather. Irrigation Department issues amber flood warning for several districts.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Alliance Finance මෙතුරු රන්නයි සේවාවෙන් රන් පවුම්කට රුපියල් 1,70,000ක ඉහළ අධිකාරම.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. In your top story for tonight, President Ranil Wickremesinghe stated that there is currently a revolution in knowledge and that the University of Colombo has to innovate in terms of education. The President also spoke of plans to purchase land for the University of Colombo while urging the Alumni Association of the University to take initiative and to work on a 10-year development plan.
The meeting of the 2023 Alumni Group of University of Colombo was held on the 12th of May under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
We have to think out of the box of how to develop the university. So the first question is, are we ready or do we want a separate law passed in respect of the University of Colombo? There may be other universities that may make the request. What does the University of Colombo and its alumni want? Think of this proposal. Secondly is the question of land. I am told that there isn't sufficient accommodation in the Colombo present Reed Avenue campus. I still think there are a few buildings towards Bullers Road that still can be abolished and you can put a 4 or 5-story building. And more than that, the decision has been to go to Homagama, to Diyagama. I don't see the need why we should go to Diyagama. That is closer to the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. And there is a proposal that to start the University of Sitawaka there. I am prepared to ensure that we can get some land in Colombo. It may not be 5-6 acres, but an acre and a half would be sufficient if you put a 10 or a 15-story building. Where we have to save land and we have to go up. I think that to me is the most important one, and then the swimming pool. The swimming pool is something I promised earlier. We have to look at space, and I think it should be in Colombo. Sure, the UDA will be able to find an acre and a half for another building for another site. After all, you have got one section down Kinsey Road and another one down Thurston Road. Why not have a third site also for the University of Colombo? But then let's look at how this university can be developed to a higher standard. How are we going to do this? It's partly the responsibility of the academia, other is the responsibility of the alumni. Why shouldn't we get together and prepare a 10-year plan for the development of the University of Colombo? So if there's a plan, then there will certainly be the help to develop it. How are we going to tackle some of the questions? What about our postgraduate studies? These are all issues that we have to address. And I feel the alumni should take the initiative, talk with the university and establish a committee which could prepare a report on the Colombo University in the next 10 years. We are going through a knowledge revolution. We are going through a time when the whole system of teaching is changing. The technology that have brought us, COVID has seen online education. On the other hand, what will be the impact of artificial intelligence in this process? Do you even need exams? That's a question that we have to think and we have to find the answer. So I would suggest that the Alumni Association should do this. And then the last one is to strengthen the Alumni Association. We have, I think, must be having over 10,000 members. Why don't we get all of them in? Many of them are serving in different capacities. I meet them. I think we should, the Alumni Association should be certainly expand and get more members. Now, if you are willing to do this, or you come up with a good alternate suggestion, certainly I will ensure that the government is willing to help. But it's a journey. Are you all willing to take? Are you all willing to go down this road? If you are willing to help, because at the moment we have to innovate in education, especially in regard to our university and how we are going ahead.
The Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, Nimal Siripala de Silva, states that the ongoing discussions between the ADB, AIIB and the BRICS on building synergies for growth in regions in the Indian Ocean is an important development in the economic integration of Asia. During a conference in Bangladesh, the minister went on to say that Sri Lanka is committed to strengthen partnerships with the Indian Ocean Rim countries and to promote peace, prosperity and the development of the region.
Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva represented Sri Lanka at the Indian Ocean Conference held in Dhaka, Bangladesh on the 12th and 13th of May, which was its 6th iteration.
That the countries located along the shores of this great ocean are among the most densely populated region on earth. The nations of the region have emerged as some of the world's largest fast-growing regions and continue to make remarkable progress in various sectors. Sri Lanka notes the recent entry into the force of the ASEAN, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership RCEP, and considered that this could serve as a catalyst for economic integration in Asia. Furthermore, the ongoing discussions between ADB, AIIB and BRICS on building synergies for growth is an important development. Business in the region must grow for the region to develop economic strength. Business require capital for expansion. This is why Sri Lanka has consistently urged for the incorporation of an Indian Ocean Development Fund for the development of the region, and in particular establishing a strong humanitarian assistance and disaster management mechanism to deal with the natural and man-made disasters. Sri Lanka also believes that there is a significant need for enhanced Indian Ocean regionalization and focuses on augmenting cooperation across the maritime domain. Such regionalism should strive to create a closer linkage between ASEAN, AURA and BIMSTEC. The Indian Ocean plays a pivotal role in the world economy and global growth. Our collaborative efforts will fully harness the immense potential of the region and further strengthen the bonds of cooperation and friendship among us. Sri Lanka's historical and cultural significance as a central hub for the connectivity in the Indian Ocean cannot be overstated. Our strong partnership with the Indian Ocean countries have enabled us to play an important role in the region's multilateral engagements. Sri Lanka is committed to further strengthening these partnerships and engaging with regional community to promote peace, prosperity and development in the region, particularly as we take up the chair of our.
Now, Cyclone Mocha, the strongest cyclone to hit the Bay of Bengal, is more than a decade entered the coast of Bangladesh and northern Myanmar today. Owing to the impact of the cyclone, rain occurred in several parts of the country today. Furthermore, the Department of Irrigation today issued an amber flood warning for several districts as a result of the prevailing weather condition, while the National Building Research Organization issued early landslide warnings to several areas in 5 districts. The Department of Meteorology in its weather forecast today stated that showers or thunder showers are expected to occur at times in the western, Sabargamu, central and northwestern provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts. It further stated that several spells of showers may occur elsewhere over the country. Strong winds of about 40 to 45 km per hour were also expected at times over the island. Accordingly, the Meteorology Department informed the general public to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. The extremely severe cyclonic storm Mocha over the east-central Bay of Bengal entered the coast of Bangladesh and northern Myanmar today. Due to this adverse weather condition, Sri Lankan authorities advised the naval and fishing communities against venturing into sea areas directly affected by the cyclone until further notice, while the same communities were requested to be vigilant when engaging in fishing and naval activities in the sea areas throughout the island. The fishing and naval community were requested to be attentive to future forecasts issued by the Department of Meteorology in this regard. Meanwhile, the Natural Hazards Early Warning Center of the Department of Meteorology issued a warning stating that showery conditions are expected to continue further over the southern parts of the country due to the indirect influence of the extremely severe cyclonic storm Mocha in the Bay of Bengal. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the southern province and in the Ratnapura districts. The Irrigation Department today issued an amber flood warning for several districts owing to the ongoing inclement weather conditions. Issuing a release on the developments, the department raised concerns that the Nilvala River is near the flood stage due to the heavy rainfall in the recent past. The Department of Irrigation noted that there is a possibility of a considerable flood situation occurring in several low-lying areas of the Nilvala River, including the Kotapola, Pitabadara, Akurasa, Athuraliya, Malimbada, Tihagoda, Mathura and Devinura Divisional Secretariat areas. All residents of those areas were requested by the Department of Irrigation to pay high attention to the possibility of considerable flooding, while the disaster management authorities were also requested to take all adequate precautions to face such a scenario. Furthermore, the National Building Research Organization issued an amber advisory for landslides in the area of Pitabadar in the Mathura district, while early warning landslide warnings to several areas in the 5 districts Gaul, Hambantota, Kalutara, Mathura and Ratnapura districts were issued. No Beechcraft KA-350 King Air military aircraft previously owned by the Australian Air Force will be gifted to the Sri Lankan Air Force by the Australian government. According to the President's Media Division, the aircraft will be given to Sri Lanka with the intention of enhancing the country's sovereign aerial maritime surveillance capability. On Friday, the Australian High Commissioner Paul Stephens presented a letter from Australia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Claire Sintel, formally extending the gift to President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The Australian government has declared that it will gift a former Royal Australian Air Force Beechcraft KA-350 King Air aircraft to the Sri Lankan government. This was conveyed to President Ranil Wickremesinghe when an Australian delegation led by the Australian High Commissioner Paul Stephens met the President at the Presidential Secretariat on Friday. The Australian government is confident that this gift will further strengthen the strong bilateral relationship between Australia and Sri Lanka, while also enhancing the ongoing cooperation between the two nations in preventing all types of transnational crime under the border security operation known as Operation Sovereign Borders. Further, as a part of the gift, the Australian government will also provide sustainment support pertaining to the aircraft for a period of 12 months, after which sustainment will become the sole responsibility of the Sri Lanka government. Deputy High Commissioner Ms. Lalita Kapoor, First Secretary Mr. Brett Zander, and Defence Advisor Captain Ian Kane were also present at this meeting.
The Sri Lanka and Luxembourg signed a Memorandum of Understanding on bilateral consultations on the sidelines at the Ministerial Forum on Indo-Pacific region in Stockholm. Taking Twitter, Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri stated that the MOU was signed yesterday in Stockholm, Sweden. Further, the implementation of an agreement pertaining to air services as well as those dealing to the improvement of trade, investments and tourism were discussed during his meeting with Luxembourg's Foreign Minister Jean Alselborn. Meanwhile, the Minister and the Secretary General of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, Salman Al-Farisi, have discussed about how to proceed once Sri Lanka takes over the IORA chair in October 2023. Furthermore, they have agreed to brainstorm on an innovative plan to benefit the IORA and member nations throughout the coming years. Now stay with us to find out what the focus of the upcoming G7 summit would be in the coming weeks. All this and much more coming up right after this short commercial break.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන්කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. The entrepreneur and founder of Aramuna, Dilip Jayavira, says that serious changes must need to be made to the existing education system in Sri Lanka in order to bring up children with creativity. He further emphasized that students need to take part in extracurricular activities in order to develop value systems and a personality. The inter-house sports meet of the Piliyandala Central College was held recently at its college ground. Entrepreneur and founder of Aramuna Dilith Jayawira joined the occasion as the chief guest.
මම පෞද්ගලිකව විශ්වාස කරන්නේ ලංකාවේ මේ අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමය තුළ තිබෙන ඒ සාම්ප්‍රදායික බටහිර ඌරුව නිසා නිර්මාණාත්මක දරුවන් බිහිවීමේ අඩුවක් ඇති බවයි. ඉතින් විශේෂයෙන්ම ඔවුන්ගේ හර පද්ධතීන් සහ ඒ පෞරුෂය මනාව මේ විදිහට හදන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒ බාහිර ක්‍රියාකාරකම් නිසායි. ඒ නිසාම මම හිතනවා මේ අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමයේ බරපතල වෙනස්කම් සිදු විය යුතුයි කියන්නේ.
Now, just as many Sri Lankans across the country celebrated Vesak this year, the Sri Lankan Buddhist community in Vihara in Canberra celebrated Vesak on a grand scale on the 6th of May. Under the guidance of the chief incumbent of the youth in Canberra, youth groups of Canberra collaborated with the rest of the Buddhist community to construct hundreds of beautiful Vesak lanterns and a colourful array of illuminations. In addition, many community groups performed devotional songs and a very special Vesak drama item for the enjoyment of the Buddhist and the wider Australian community. Now, international media reported that the leaders of the international group of 7 are set to discuss concerns about China's use of economic coercion in its dealings abroad. A broader written proposal on how to counter economic threats from any country with a section specific to China is expected to be released by the G7 leaders next week. The G7 summit is scheduled to be held from the 19th of May to the 21st in Hiroshima, Japan, with the participation of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, USA and the United Kingdom. A report by a foreign media outlet quoting a US official who asked to be anonymous has said that the main G7 statement that will be issued next week will include a section specific to China, with a list of concerns that include economic coercion and other behavior that they have seen specifically from the People's Republic of China. A separate economic security statement will speak more to tools used to counter coercive methods from any countries responsible, including planning and coordination. The G7, which also includes Canada, France, Germany, Italy and the United Kingdom, is closely tied economically to China, the world's biggest exporter, and a key market for many of the 7 countries' companies. Last month, China called a statement by the G7 foreign ministers that touched on similar topics full of arrogance, prejudice against China, and lodged complaints with this year's G7 host Japan. The joint statement issued by all the G7 leaders every year is intended to signal that powerful countries are aligned on a range of political and economic issues. G7 members will also hold out the prospect of further cooperation with China on areas like climate. A US official quoted by foreign media said that they are not for decoupling the US and Chinese economy, but for de-risking and for diversifying. Negotiations over the precise language of the leaders' joint declarations are still subject to diplomacy and adjustments before they are released during the summit. And that's all the news we have for you this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Tune into our social media pages to get the very latest updates. Until then, have a pleasant evening and good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.